Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond, and London, England, as well as Paris, France, and of course, you good up boys in Africa. You know we love the Big C tribe. We love you in Canada. In fact, we love you so much, I'm going to sneak it in. Oh, Canada! They can laugh or love me or hate me, whatever they want to do, Big C. We love them good old boys, but we love you good old boys down south more than anybody, especially know that I know you love the Dukes of Hazzard. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I'm having a very childish Friday. I went and snuck out, got me a popsicle. It warms up a little bit today, and I say, I'm going to splurge.
Yeah, it's always good to splurge.
I got me one of those push-up popsicles, and I felt like a kid.
Those are amazing on us. Beautiful. It is March 23rd, 2018, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. So much happening in the world of sports and entertainment. We have the Kings and the Atlanta Hawks last night protest outside of Golden One Center. NCAA upsets. I don't know if you call it an upset. All the guys get to play each other, and it's determined on the court what happens, not who's voted where. And also some tragic news in the world of the sports universe. We have one of the greatest owners of sports franchises, Wayne Huizenga, lost his battle today or yesterday. We want to pay our thoughts to his family. Also, I just want to say, of all the things that happen in the world of sports and politics, there's a lot that we love to talk about, Big C. And before we get into it, I do want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, we talk about so much, and we've been doing it for years, 3 years, how sports will galvanize our society. It brings people together. And there was an incident from last night, but it happened Sunday night in Northern California. Well, there was a kid that lost his life, was shot over 20 times by law enforcement. He had a cell phone, and they were saying he had something else. And they turned their mics off, which you're not supposed to. So a lot of people in Sacramento State Capitol, they had planned a protest, I believe, down by the state capitol, and they ended up going out to Golden One Center. Well, just give me your thoughts on why this continues to happen, and so many people, they don't want to even discuss it. They say, let's just talk about the sports because we're too dumb to know what's really going on. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's always the adjective, well, he had to be doing something wrong. You're standing in your grandparents' backyard talking on your cell phone. I understand they were observing an individual from the air with a helicopter and, doing the infrared lighting. But, you say halt. Now, you're showing lights as a police officer. Now, you're saying he has a gun, and he's holding it up to his head, holding it up in the air. And you're saying halt, and all of a sudden, you fire 20 times. I mean, I understand firing a shot in an individual's leg or something like that.
Yeah.
But, when you excess 20 rounds into a human being, that's intent to kill.
Yeah.
That's not intent to stop a suspect. That's intent to kill.
Yeah.
Now, I've seen white individuals stopped by police. They're walking down the street with a rifle or a shotgun.
Yeah.
And the police give them every opportunity to put it on the ground.
Yeah.
They sit there and negotiate with them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, young African Americans don't get that same opportunity. They don't get that same respect.
No.
Just let's kill him and figure out if he had a gun.
Wow.
I mean, because, and then I look at the criminal attempt to cover it up.
Yeah.
And people say, well, how are you going to call a police officer criminal? Why did the police officers say to each other, turn off the mic?
Yep.
So no one can hear us discuss our story here.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason you're going to turn off the mic. Because as a police officer, and if you're following protocol, and you knew this young man had a gun, you want the mic to be on to exonerate yourself.
Exactly.
You don't want to sit there and say, we don't want any speculation. You leave the mic on as an honest police officer. And this analogy that people have always used, well, there's always a bad apple or two in the barrel. Okay, so how do you know it's a bad apple?
Yeah.
And if you know it's a bad apple, why did you let it sit there and be rotten?
Yeah.
That's the thing that I don't always understand.
Yeah.
When you say, well, there's always a bad apple here and there.
Yeah.
Okay, you know it's a bad apple. You knew that going into this. But when you cut off the mic, this is what they're talking about in the White House right now.
Yeah.
That you're hiding evidence. This is what these police officers did intentionally. They hid evidence. They went to alter the facts of what occurred, what they had on camera. Then it happened, and they said, turn off the mic. Right there, you committed a crime.
Yep.
You did not do disclosure. And so this is why you can't say, well, we're going under investigation. You're looking right at it.
Yeah, you're looking at
Everybody didn't turn off the mic. Somebody had one on.
Yeah, and the amazing thing is we know the Kerner Commission was issued about 50 years ago. Lyndon Baines Johnson called together the Kerner to do it and had a board panel. I think 12 people were involved in it. And we know that for mainstream, white America, to really be fully engaged in why this topic, this Black Lives Matter topic matters, the same thing that Colin Kaepernick, took a knee for, and people said he's a SOB and he should get the heck out of the country, and all that patriotic talk, right, when someone exercises their rights here. And I'm not going to cast blame on every law enforcement officer. There were a couple that pulled the trigger. And as we want, if you ever get pulled over, and I've had it unfortunately many times, there's something on the side of every police car, at least in California. It says to protect and to serve the public. But I do got to ask my white brethren, because I'm disappointed in many that I hear on many sports talk shows in Northern California. And we've always said they love you when you're an athlete. Just shut up and dribble. They love you when you're big, strong, and fast. Hey, Mr. So, can I get your autograph? They love it when you got a nice number and a jersey on and they sell them. They say, hey, can I get an interview? Can I get a word from you? But what about the kids who don't play sports? What about the kids that don't have a uniform? What about the guys who are not million-dollar athletes? We got to find a way to ask every Caucasian parent, do you have a conversation with your boys and girls about how not to get shot when approached by law enforcement? Big C, that happens to almost every black father I've ever known. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you have the conversation, but when they walk up to you and they start firing because they say that you are a threat, the threat that you possess is the complexion of your skin. That's the threat. And, I look at our conversations that we have across the country, across this nation.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, too many of them are about gun violence.
Yeah.
I know they're talking about, the kids are having a march tomorrow across the U.S. and on Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
Saying enough is enough. And, at what point will enough be enough white on black crime? And it doesn't make any difference whether it's in society or it's in police.
Yeah.
It's white on black crime. And the first thing that they'll say, well, one of the officers were black. Well, who fired first? Did the white officer fire first, or did the black officer fire first? That's on the camera. I saw the white officer say, turn off the camera.
Yeah.
Turn off the mic.
Yeah.
The white officer said that. Wasn't the black officer. He indicated to the black officer, turn off the mic.
Well,
because we got to get this story corroborated.
They got to get it straight. Yeah.
And so this is the problem that we have. Now, we're having, it's hard to draw a comparison when we look at these school shootings, okay?
Yeah.
They're children. But everybody that gets shot is somebody's child.
He was 22 years old.
Regardless of the age, it's somebody's child.
Yeah.
This young man had 2 young children.
Yeah.
Also. So now they're going to be fatherless the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
He's gone. He'll never be there to pass along the rites of passage.
Nope.
To push him in a swing, to walk him to kindergarten.
Yeah.
To see him graduate high school, go on to college. He won't be there to participate with this, Charlton.
No.
It's over with for those children. And it's over with for any parent that loses a child. But as we talk about the gun violence in America, and it's not just in the schools.
No.
It's been in the African-American community even longer than it's been in the schools, because young African-Americans have been shot and hung. Go back to the movie you resonated on so much,
Birth of a Nation. Yeah.
That was a movie celebrating killing black people.
Yep.
and having gusto with it.
President Woodrow Wilson.
And we've seen that in every major film. We look at Malcolm X, him being killed, Martin Luther King being killed,
Yeah.
Medgar Evers being killed in his driveway by a white man, Emmett Till being killed.
Yeah.
And these have been celebrated. And now they're videotaping it and altering the videotape.
Yeah. Well, I got to bring a lot of praise to the owner of the Sacramento Kings. His name is Vivek Ranadive. And he's not from the United States. He was born, he's Indian American now. And I really appreciate the manner and the spirit that he spoke to the fans with the team and also some of the athletes, but as the owner of a team, a minority owner of a team. Here's a man that's calling for inclusion and unity and asking everyone to understand that as the owner of the Sacramento Kings, we will do everything in our power to help create unity in our city. And he didn't have to say that, because there's a lot of owners that would say, shut up and dribble. We don't want to get involved. Our sponsors might be upset if you're concerned with black lives, because that's the angle that many media brethren, and I challenge you to see if we're wrong, that's the angle many media brethren will take, like some of the dumb ones that are too ignorant to talk about anything other than who won the game, and I'm not going to talk about anything other than sports because I'm too stupid. Those guys that have jobs that act that way, if there were white kids being shot 20 times by law enforcement officers in suburban cities, especially if they were the children of those knuckleheads that have access to a microphone and they say they don't want to talk about it because they're too ignorant. This would be more national news if young white kids are being shot 20 times by law enforcement officers by having cell phones. Does that make any sense, Big C? Your thoughts?
And Charlton, we know the majority of them do have a cell phone. So, they're given the benefit of the doubt of not having a gun, because they've been taught to say, hey, why would a white child have a gun? But a black child should. If he has something in his hand, it has to be something that would harm me. And I understand that police have a very tough job and very quick decisions to make.
And most do a great job at it.
But, when we see these incidents like this, to fire on an individual 20 times, he was hit 20 times.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, they both emptied their guns.
Yep.
So they carried at least 15 rounds in each of those magazines, probably plus one in the chamber.
Yeah.
So they both shot at least 15 times, so there was at least 30 rounds fired at this young man.
Yeah.
Okay, at what point, even when he's on the ground, did you figure that you had shot him enough? Or did your emotions take over and say that you were enjoying what you were doing? And so I have to look at things from that perspective, Charlton. Because if you fire one or two times and an individual goes down, generally he's down.
Yeah.
But to keep firing and empty your clip, that means that at some point a bit of euphoria came over you. And you could not get rid of it. I mean, that dopamine kicked in and you were enjoying yourself because you weren't showing any remorse.
Well,
because even after he was down and you emptied your clips in him, you just stood there and caught your breath. That's all you were doing. Breathing hard.
Well,
like you had done something of joy or exuberance.
Well,
and that's what they got out of that.
Well, there's something in the law called malice aforethought, meaning you think about things before you do it with malice. And for every person that has a child, I know for every parent you want to make sure your kids get home safe. But when law enforcement that's licensed to carry guns turn off their microphones when they are approaching a situation where they're saying they feel for their lives. So let's turn off our microphones because I feel for my life. And then they committed what's called malice aforethought. And there's going to be every attempt to spin it. And because it was a young black man, and just like some of the ignorant people that I see and hear on the radio stations up here in Northern California saying, I'm only going to talk about sports as if they are not part of the community. And for all the knuckleheads who listen to those people, who say, I only care about what happens on this court, I'm too dumb to talk about what happens to your families. Irrespective of what color you are, I'm so appreciative of the fact that there was no violence in Sacramento last night. They were just people saying we're angry and we want answers. And I hope that they'll do everything in their power to have it answered properly and just go by the evidence. I can just lament just a few things here, as any person of color can attest to. Maybe not everybody, but maybe most black men. I've also had gun pointed at me by law enforcement officers. I'll never forget it because it's happened more than once. The first time I was 19 years old, and I was told to pull over, and I pulled over, and I was told to get my license and registration. And I said, okay, I'm going to reach in and get my license and my registration. Well, by the time I looked up, the officer was at the front of the car with his hand on his gun. Now, I'm 19. I wasn't doing anything wrong. Didn't do anything. I mean, the point is, it happened when I was 19. Recently, it happened 3 years ago. In my own neighborhood, surrounded by 3 law enforcement officers. For nothing. But I had a white neighbor that called and said he felt that, someone was trying to break into his home. It was some teenagers playing ding-dong ditch. And that prompted 3 law enforcement officers to come up to my neighborhood on my lawn. So when people say shut up and dribble, I'm so disappointed that it doesn't happen to enough white men for them to feel that pain and that fear. Because if that were the case, I don't know how any radio station could hire some guys that are so dumb that when something happens in their own community that affects the fan base of a major sports team, and they say to all those people who are marching and say, we want to end this, shut up, all I care about is who scored a point. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's a very eerie feeling, and I've felt your pain. I've been at the other end of that scenario, just like you have. I've been as far as laying on the ground with guns drawn on me because I'm driving a particular type of car and dressed a particular type of way. And it's like these are clothes I bought in a normal retailer.
Yeah.
There was nothing lavish about them.
Yeah.
In my mind. The car, I see many other white individuals driving the same type of car, never being put in the situation that I was.
Yeah.
But I was told that at one point that there was a crime committed, and you fit the description.
You look
of
like
the
the black guy that did it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I fit the description of the suspect, so evidently you were there when the crime was being committed, and you saw the suspect. If I'm fitting the description, so I got a twin somewhere around town that's coming out of my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay? There was a very new neighborhood. But and I didn't know what to do. I mean, I didn't know whether to cry, move, breathe, or what. And I'm serious, as a grown man.
Yeah.
I was put in that predicament of the ultimate fear.
Yeah.
That if I sneeze, someone was going to feel a threat. And I'm laying out in the street. I got my legs spread. I got my arms outspread eagle. And I'm laying there with the side of my face on the concrete because they would not let me hold my face up off the concrete.
Yeah.
And they're standing there with guns drawn.
Well,
and I'm trying to figure out what I'd done because I had only left home within 5 minutes of being pulled over.
Yeah.
And I couldn't fathom, all I knew was just fear. And I'm laying in the street for 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was the most scary time of my life. And I was a professional athlete.
Yeah.
And people said, well, professional athletes go through this all the time.
Oh, yeah.
They honestly do.
Yeah.
And try not to speak about it as much.
Yeah.
But, we saw the situation with Bennett in Vegas.
Yeah.
After the fight last year with Mayweather and McGregor.
Yeah.
Where he was face down.
Yeah.
Knee in the back by the officers. Because, there's gunfire and you're running.
Yeah. Well,
that's not a normal act.
Well,
that's what they told me.
Well,
it's not a normal act when you hear gunfire to run.
Yeah.
No, you just stand there and say, hey, hit me.
Ironically, what happened, and I don't know everything that happened down at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, it just happened today, I think, down in Houston, and they're pressing charges against him because they're saying he assaulted someone trying to get into a stadium. Now, I don't know how you assault someone trying to get into a stadium. I wasn't there. But here's a person who I think I don't know, maybe being targeted because of what happened down in Vegas. We saw in Vegas he was laying on the ground. We saw that.
They are synonymous with each other.
Yeah.
They said he assaulted a handicapped usher at Super Bowl 52 down in Houston.
That doesn't even make any sense.
This is what he's been accused of. And, okay, this comes on the heel after he sued the Las Vegas Police Department.
Yeah.
They said a grand jury indicted him. They said they have no video evidence.
Nope.
No photographic evidence. No audio evidence.
A witness.
But they say they have a police officer
Yeah.
that witnessed the incident. Now,
Yeah.
I'm quite curious that if a police officer is witnessing you assault someone,
Wouldn't he be arrested on the spot?
why did they not arrest you?
It makes sense to me.
You know, it's an ironic and eerie incident that a professional athlete who is suing a police department in another state
Yep.
is that you find an incident where his brother wins the Super Bowl and he's going down on the field to celebrate with him, as many dozens of people hit out on the field to celebrate
Yeah.
with the team.
Yeah.
Ironically, you find this one individual in this stadium.
Yep.
And if you go back, anybody look at a replay at the end of the Super Bowl, how many hundreds of people are out on the field
Quite a few.
that made it to the playing surface?
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, you could find this one individual out of all.
Yeah.
This police officer did not make an arrest.
Well,
2 years ago, he failed to make an arrest.
It took 2
He failed
years.
to even charge the guy.
Yeah. 2
But
years
they
to do
have
that.
no video evidence of what occurred, no audio evidence, no photographic evidence.
Yeah.
But this individual is suing a police department in another state, and you indict him.
You know, this has eerie comparisons to the Rodney King incident, where our mainstream media and those police officers that were sworn to protect the public, they're sworn in to protect and serve the public, and they have this thing called videotape that the officers were not aware of. Okay, and I think there was at least 16 that had a noose around his neck, and they were beating him with the billy club and whatever else they were using. And this went on for several minutes. And these officers blatantly lied to the entire universe, saying they felt threatened for their lives, but they were not aware there was a videotape. And we know that down in Simi Valley, predominantly a white jury, they still acquitted, because what they said, what they saw with their own eyes was not believable. But they had the testimony of someone who's sworn to protect and serve the public that lied. So when you're a black father, and if you're a white father, you may not understand this, but if you're a black father, you know the Emmett Till existed, you know the Kerner report exists, you know the movie Birth of a Nation existed, we know the Rodney King incident existed. There have been incidents all over this country, and the one in Sacramento that just happened, all too often, people can feel what happens. They don't have to watch it on the news. They already had planned a service for something they didn't want to do on a 22-year-old. So irrespective of what color you are, I know most of the media are owned by Caucasian men. You don't have stories of law enforcement pulling their guns on you, following you around in the neighborhood, saying, "What are you doing here, boy? Whose car is this? Why are you in this neighborhood?" You don't have those experiences. But for the decent people, you could at least have empathy for people who have shown you proof. And Lyndon Baines Johnson was a white man who had the Kerner Commission issued. I just hope that every father that has a young black boy, we got to teach to be calm, but also when you get pulled over, call 911. You can call 911 so they can hear the conversation. So even when the police officers turn off the microphone, it's all over the airwaves. That would keep a lot of people safe and keep you from being taken advantage of, as there's been a plethora of black men and women who've had that happen to with impunity. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we've seen it on camera more and more in recent years, and it doesn't seem to stop. It slows down for a brief moment, but then it picks up again. And every time, it's the same scenario in the end, is that we feared for our lives. We could not tell what he had in his hand.
Yep.
And I think police officers have been taught also not to escalate an incident. If you can back down and wait on a negotiator to get there, we see that all the time with a white individual.
Yeah.
They wait on a negotiator to get there to talk to them
Yeah.
when they're holding hostage. they just don't start firing away. They want to see if they can resolve the individual to give him his day in court.
Yeah.
To get him some psychiatric help.
Yep.
But unfortunately, minorities are not getting that same latitude.
No.
And this is not a racial incident that we're talking about on the show. We're not trying to create a racial divide.
No, just Google it.
We're only asking anybody to look at what they see on television.
Yeah.
Listen to what they hear on television. You're looking at it. And we're not asking anybody to sit there and say, well, we'll wait till all the facts come out. When you see a gun and the magazine is empty, these Glock 9s that they're carrying, there's 15 rounds in the clip,
Yep.
and the gun is empty by 2 officers. The individual's laying on the ground. He's been hit 20 times. And I'm trying to figure out at what point did he expire and they felt it was still important to keep shooting the corpse.
Yeah.
Bad words to use on air, but it's a fact.
Well, we know.
Okay?
We know.
At what
Yeah.
point did you feel that you needed to keep shooting him, that he was still posing a threat?
Yep.
When he was down on the ground, wasn't moving, and you kept shooting, at what point did he stop posing a threat to you?
And that's a good point. And I also want to bring up that the people that did the protest in Sacramento, they were not all black. There were a lot of people out there, different skin colors, that were saying, how can we bring some solution to this? Because if the people throughout this beautiful country of ours, if we sit back like some of the dumb people on radio and say, I'm only going to talk about the score. If we're that dumb, I think Dr. King, paraphrasing what he said, if we know justice...
I don't even know if it's dumb.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's being too kind to the individual.
Yeah.
I think what you should just honestly say is that they back that type of action.
Yeah.
They praise that type of action. They're not dumb.
Yeah.
They know what they're saying. Is that they're saying it's okay, it's acceptable with them.
Yeah.
If the guy's not wearing a jersey, in their mind, he's not worthy of living.
Yeah.
Okay? That's when those guys say, well, we're not going to discuss this. This is for another time. It's not for us.
Yeah.
If the guy had a jersey on, he's first and foremost
Kissing his butt. Kissing his butt. Yeah. Yeah.
But since he doesn't have a jersey on, he's meaningless as a human being to those guys saying that we're not going to discuss this.
Well, you know. Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not trying to compare this to the high school incidents that have gone on this year. And there was a shooting just 2 days ago again in a high school.
Wow.
But, you know, it's not getting... Now, after Florida, these high school shootings are not going to get any more publicity. They're just not, because they're going to say, well, it's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, I look at the president, you know, talking about banning bunt stocks, okay?
Yeah.
Does anyone understand that a bunt stock doesn't make a semi-automatic weapon any more dangerous than what it is? If you got an AR-15 rifle,
Yeah.
the difference between firing 50 shots in a minute versus 100 shots in a minute,
Yeah.
it's not that big a difference. Because whatever you're aiming at, you've hit it already.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's something that's great conversation to have, especially when you have a young black child. And we tell our children, you can be anything you want to be. You just got to work harder. And no matter what the resistance may be, whether it's silent or not silent, you got to push through it. And Dr. King said that if we know of injustice happening anywhere and we do nothing about it, then we're part of the problem. And so you can't make someone change their mind. I mean, people are what they are. But for the guys who say, well, I only want to talk about the score in the game, they're either dumb or they're complicit in what happens because they care to do nothing about it. So that's why we'll always bring it to you live, Big C Sports, World Sports Talk, whether it's protecting women or protecting all people. We just want to make sure that people have dialogue. That's the only way that things get done. Big C, I do want to bring up something else, and I know that we look at sports as a place of healing, a place of picking a side and standing behind your team. And if you're an athlete, it's a chance to go out and do something that you're good at. And there are men who also pay those athletes and women. Wayne Huizenga, one of the greatest owners of American sports organizations, owned 3 different sports teams at one time, lost his battle. And I just want to say to his family, that man created so many jobs for so many people and put a lot of people to work. And also brought a lot of civic pride to communities. Big C, your thoughts on the late Wayne Huizenga?
And Charlton, he's what you call a true American. When the president wants to talk about making America great again,
yeah,
all he had to do was follow the model of the late Wayne Huizenga.
Yeah.
This is a man who truly put his money and his mouth and his heart into making America great again.
Yeah.
He will be recognized most for owning 3 professional organizations.
Yeah.
The Miami Dolphins, the Florida Panthers, and the Florida Marlins.
Yeah.
Those are what he'll be most recognizable for. But when you think about the amount of Americans that he put to work in America, you think about it, waste management, which has the Greater Phoenix Open.
Yep.
We've seen that on the PGA Golf Tour. Everyone knows what waste management is. You put that dumpster out on the curb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He started that.
Yeah.
A company that no longer exists, Blockbuster, which at one time everyone relied on for their movies.
Yep.
It changed the scope of how Americans enjoyed in-home entertainment.
Yeah.
Wayne Huizenga did that.
Yeah.
And then CarMax, I believe it is, that he created.
Yeah.
The way Americans bought and drove cars. He was so synonymous in creating jobs.
Yeah.
You think about the amount of employees that all of those companies have.
Yep.
And they were all Fortune 500 companies. That meant not only did it make him a lot of money, but it housed and afforded a lot of families the support to live.
Yeah.
Not just the professional athletes, but the everyday man that Wayne Huizenga looked out for. So when people say that sports is different from the rest of society, no, Wayne Huizenga did not look at it like that. Is that he looked at taking care of people.
Yep.
And every business that he invests in, families thrive off of what he had done, Charlton.
Yeah, and just, you think about it, for people who want to go out and start a business, it's not always easy. Sometimes you just keep climbing that mountain until you get to the top. But as you mentioned, the only American to start up 3 Fortune 500 companies, okay? A guy who created jobs in a diverse industry, in a sporting industry, where he gave a lot of black men the chance to feed their families. White men too. But here's a man that did a lot with his life in 80 years. And so I just want to say through his family, you had a warrior and a soldier that championed the cause of America to help people get employed and to create a lot of opportunities for people to go out and have a good time watching sports teams. So again, our thoughts and prayers are with his family. I do want to touch on that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, or a high school team, or your mom and pop soccer leagues. When you reach out to them, let them know Big C sent you at 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. And Big C, I think about some things. We always talk about how life, has so many parallels, and all's fair in love and war. So before we get into a little bit of what's going on with March Madness, I love this country, and I love to see all of our presidents do well. And there's nobody perfect in our society. But when I hear this former Playboy model, Karen McDougal, saying she felt deceived by a married man as she's visiting that married man's woman's or his wife's bedroom, I just wonder, in the Me Too movement, nobody's perfect. And I'm not judging anybody because I don't have a glass house. But what's in the mind of anyone that says, I felt betrayed by my married boyfriend and I'm in the house of his wife's bedroom? How she feel betrayed, Big C? Your thoughts?
It's amazing how people can put certain spins on words. Who did she feel betrayed by?
I'm just trying to figure it out.
By the wife, sleeping with the boyfriend, her boyfriend?
I
did
guess.
She feel betrayed by, the man that had a wife that was sleeping with her? It's a weird triangle.
Yeah.
But the thing about betrayal, I don't know if it's betrayal. I think that it got to a point that promises were made.
Yeah.
And you felt that these promises at some point weren't going to be fulfilled. You probably felt used.
Yeah.
And you didn't want to say used, so you used the word betrayal.
Right.
But who is betraying who?
Yeah.
You're betraying the oath of a married couple.
Mm-hmm.
You knew he was married when he came in.
Yeah.
You said you found him strikingly handsome. And, you know, I don't
That
know
was a lie. That's the first lie.
I don't want the American Disability Act coming at me, but
his money made him very handsome.
Evidently, the contract that you had in wasn't working right.
Yeah.
They were in backwards.
Yeah.
Okay, but to sit there and say you find this man strikingly handsome, I mean, you were talking about stupid earlier in the segment. So, I gotta, run along those lines a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I think the money was a very attractive thing.
You think?
That's what you found extremely attractive.
And she should say that. She wants the money.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't seeing her for free. I mean, she made a comment at one point that he offered her money, after sleeping with him one
on the
time.
first night she sleeps with him.
He was always willing to pay.
Yeah, but think about it.
He was not shy about that. I got money. I can pay for it. I can afford it.
Well, think about it.
I
Go
think,
ahead.
he was providing housing and other things for beyond just offering money.
Yeah.
I think as long as he was paying things,
Yeah.
that she was okay with it. But when he said, I'm going to put money in your hand,
Yeah.
I think that made her feel kind of demeaned at that point.
Well, that tells you how Trump gets down. And so maybe that's why he's had so many suitors. And I've always believed that this real talk. So I just think that most Americans who come from his ilk, they're used to paying for everything. Maybe so, maybe not. But here's a woman, and she can do what she want to do, just like men can. I couldn't care less what somebody does. They're adults, who cares? But for someone who lays down with him on the first date, the first time alone, and then knowing that he was already, I guess his wife had just had a child, but I think a lot of people live that way. So I even feel disingenuous when I'm trying to seem like I'm shocked, because I've known too many people, entertainment, and also sporting industry, the music industry, and people do what they want to do. They just lie about it, Big C. That's the reality. The reality is what Donald Trump is doing, the reason he has all those white Republican males condoning what he does is because they probably live the same way. And if they're honest, they know it. They can look at their spouse right now. One of them's cheating on the other. Okay? Half the marriages in America end in divorce. So if a man is looking at his wife right now and she's looking at him, one of them's cheating. That's
Charleston,
probably the fact.
I've often wondered, when you're a 65, 70-year-old man and your wife is 30, 32,
yep.
where's the attraction?
It's big.
What do you have in common? Let's be honest
Money.
in society.
Yeah.
What do you have in common when there's a 40-year difference in a relationship?
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can sit there and say, well, I like the conversations they have.
Yeah.
Well, you can have that same conversation with somebody that's closer to your age.
Yeah.
Okay, and probably have a lot more in common.
Yeah.
There's a lot of intelligent men that's close to everyone's age.
Yeah.
Okay, but to sit there and say, I enjoyed their company and I like the conversation.
Yeah.
But the main part that a lot of people miss is I like the way he treated me.
Yep.
Okay? Because I got everything.
Airplane, private jets.
Everything that money could buy, I had.
Yeah.
That's when you say, I like the way he treated me. And the conversational part, what can I get you next? That's the conversation you like. And the treatment that you like.
Yeah, and I think I just watch these shows. I think there's one called The Bachelor, and they get all these women that round up. Have they heard of mononucleosis, where I think you get that from saliva, swapping too much saliva with too many people? And we live in the world where people can do what they want, and I'm okay with that. There's people who do whatever they want. They're going to lie about it. There are preachers that have, babies pop up from across towns, and everybody has whatever. We know what happened with the preschools and the church, and they hide all these popes all over the country. People do what they want. But I just thought it was very brazen for a woman, the mistress, to come on TV and say, I was shocked that he had more than just me, Big C. And I'm for the Me Too movement, and we're for whatever works. If you're consensual and you're an adult, we know people do whatever they want to do. No matter what they say on TV, we just had this thing on the Kennedys, and Kennedy couldn't go 3 days without having somebody pray on him or put hands on him, Big C, if that makes any sense. But Donald Trump is the thing of paying off and threatening to sue people. That's over the top, and I hope that other people who are in those situations will pay attention to that. But I do want to touch on Big C before we get to this. I know that a lot's going on in the world of basketball. And I know when we look at the NBA has been fantastic. And it's more fantastic when teams are going down the stretch to see who's going to compete for the number 1 and the number 2 spot. I know Steph Curry at home tonight. They're playing against Atlanta. They're saying he's going to play. I don't know if it's wise, because what are they going to prove? They're only going to get him. What they're going to get him in shape. You get in shape in practice. If you have a guy like that, you got to have him healthy. If you're going to win another NBA championship, beating the Atlanta Hawks is no more important than getting in shape in practice. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, that is practice, the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
But the thing about it is that you're playing against a live scenario where these guys are not going to take it easy on you. And all it takes is stepping on someone's foot, planning wrong and rolling that ankle again.
Yep.
But why do you take the risk? I mean, to sit there and satisfy who? You're playing Atlanta.
Yep.
This is a team that has nothing to play for, and you're most likely going to see a lot of guys come off the bench that are trying to make a name for themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're trying to put yourself together for a 16-game run, to win 16 games out of 28 in a month and a half,
yeah,
that's what you should be playing for.
Yeah.
You sit the guy down, make sure he's 100% healthy.
Yep.
Even if you got to say he went through some medical procedure.
Yeah.
You say that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what Boston is doing. They're saying Kyrie is going through a medical procedure.
You heard his knee too.
You give him some rest.
Yeah.
So
Kyrie Irving.
You got to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, a medical procedure could be getting an MRI.
Yep. Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
Yeah.
But the rationale in playing Steph Curry right now, trying to say that you're trying to keep him sharp. He's not going to be any more of a sharpshooter now than what he would be in a month and a half from now. So.
No, he's not, and he's already earned it. But they're going to do what they want to do. I just don't see the benefit of doing that. Even when we look at, Kawhi Leonard down in San Antonio, what's the pressure to come back? They've already made great strides even without him. And you look at some of the teams that have already clinched. Toronto and Boston have clinched. They got a playoff spot. They've clinched a playoff spot. They haven't clinched the division yet. As far as division, you have Houston and you have Golden State. They've clinched their division, and of course they've clinched their playoff spot. You got to keep players healthy going down the stretch. I think Houston could wear themselves out by running so hard, but you never want to lose on purpose either. I look at just that thought of resting players. I think it makes a lot of sense. Minnesota tonight, they're a 6.5-point favorite over the New York Knicks, and you have Cleveland and Phoenix. Now, Cleveland obviously with Love coming back. He had the injuries, and now he's much better. He's made Cleveland a much better team. Hasn't that time off helped Kevin Love and the Cavaliers? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he's fresh, Charlton. He's running up and down the court. He's getting that lift on his jump.
Yeah.
And so that's what you want at this time of the year. I mean, when you think about when Kevin Love has been hurt.
Yeah.
2 years ago he was hurt.
Yep.
Missed a copious amount of games.
Yep.
What did the Cavaliers do? They won an NBA title.
They sure did.
When he was hurt 2 years ago, missed a lot of games, they won an NBA title, and he was very integral.
Yeah.
In that championship series, Charlton, he had a couple of games where he was the second leading scorer on the team.
Yeah.
And so that's what you look at. Are you going to be healthy? When the Warriors lost the title that year, they rested nobody.
Yep.
They were burnt out.
Yeah, burnt out.
They were pushed to the limits in a couple series.
Yeah.
Not just that one. They didn't have any series that they swept because they were a team that was physically tired.
Yep.
From chasing a record.
Yeah.
And then they realized the following year, we don't want to chase our record.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just let some players rest. They go out and they go 16-1 in that championship run.
Yeah.
And they can't remember what they did from a model perspective.
Yeah.
From the front office and the coaches.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, when we rested players,
yep,
didn't try to break a record.
Yeah.
We were 16-1 in the playoffs.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense.
When we went out there and set a record, we didn't have enough to win that final game.
Yeah.
We lost that last series.
Yeah.
We were an even team in the playoffs.
Yeah. It always matters what you do at the finish line, not what happens when you're on the way to the end of the race. You look at Toronto, they've had it tough the last couple of games against teams from the United States. I guess I should sing my song again. Oh, Canada. I'm telling you, Toronto, 12-point favorite over Brooklyn. OKC, a 6-point favorite over Miami. OKC they're kind of a Jekyll and Hyde, but they're a team that can scare people, especially with Westbrook. Milwaukee a 5-point favorite over Chicago. Now, San Antonio's playing Utah. San Antonio's a 3-point favorite over Utah, but I think Utah's had the winningest record in the league outside of Houston and Portland over the last 20 games. They've really come on strong, Big C. Your thoughts on how important it is for San Antonio to either knock Utah off their perch or Utah knock them off the perch? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, we're talking, when you're playing for bracketing in one of the lower seeds and San Antonio's struggling down in the 8th spot
Yeah.
to stay in the playoffs,
Yeah.
What are you playing for? You're making the playoffs, and it's nice to see that anybody can beat anybody on any given day.
Yeah.
But at this point, we know who are the top 2 teams in the West, really the top 3, and it's going to come out of those top 3.
Yeah.
Those lower teams will play each other, and they'll play one of these top teams.
Yeah.
But San Antonio is a team that has resigned, and Kawhi Leonard not coming back. Most likely he's going to be traded next year. He's not going to be with the organization.
Oh, you think so?
Utah, oh yeah, he's gone. He won't be back in San Antonio. They're going to make a move. They'll get a player of almost equal stature for him. They'll most likely move him to a larger market because it's going to benefit the NBA.
Yeah.
He has not been around in San Antonio all season, so there's no need to keep him
get him
around
back,
because
yeah.
there's a lot of friction between him and the players that are out there playing right now.
Well, that would be interesting. Yeah, because he is a marquee player.
He is marketable, and so everybody has talked about who will be in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Kawhi Leonard went to San Diego State.
Yeah. Aztecs. Yeah.
So it's a natural fit for him to be in Los Angeles.
Well, it'd be interesting to see. Portland has a big game tonight at home at the Moda Center. They're favored by 6 over Boston. Boston's been struggling in the last couple of games, whether it's Kyrie or not getting his knee massaged or getting it scoped or whatever they're doing, putting some needles or. Why don't you just give the boys some moonshine and some duct tape, Big C? That knows a lot of people to get healthy, from what I understand back in the day. But that Portland game, they got to get back on track. I think with Damian Lillard not having a good game for the first time in about a month against Houston, might be a little bit of maybe a blow to the ego. I don't know if that's the case or not. But when you have guys coming to town and you know you can beat them if you have your best game in Houston, and he didn't have his best game, you can credit Houston's defense for that. I think, is he under pressure? Because he carries that franchise up in Portland. It doesn't matter what McCollum does or anybody else. It's still going to be him, Big C. Does that put any more added pressure on Damian Lillard, Big C?
Well, I don't know if there's added pressure, Charlton, but the franchise has gone as he has gone.
Yeah.
Over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
He's gotten better and better and more dominant as an NBA guard. And his skills are recognized throughout the league. But there's going to be stretches where you don't have great games. If you see James Harden scored 22 and 21 points in consecutive nights, is he having off nights, or is he just dishing the ball more in those particular games?
Yeah, good point.
You can't always expect for your team leading scorer to always be the team's leading scorer every night unless you're Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, yeah.
Last year in OKC.
Yeah.
But, Lillard's going to have those games.
Yeah.
Where you just not there mentally, and so many athletes go through that. Is that people say, why is he down? Well, we don't always know what's going on in their life off the court.
Yeah.
And a lot of those times, just like the layman person, you bring home to work with you.
Yeah.
And an unsettling situation may cause your performance not be at peak.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put too much into Lillard having a couple bad games, Charlton, because he's a professional.
Yeah.
And he'll pick it back up, and he'll come out, and you'll forget about the 2 bad games that he's had.
Yeah, that's definitely true. He is definitely a great player. I love the fact that he's getting the exposure. Just wish for his sake he could have really shown up more in the game against Houston. Big C, I want to touch on a little bit of the Final Four before we leave out. This is where college basketball gets exciting. This is where teams can have one shining moment. Okay, they sing it better than I did, Teddy, back in the day. But that one shining moment, I look at last night, and Kentucky's done. I think it's been so long since Kentucky's won a national championship. I mean, they haven't won but once, I think, in the last 20 years. I might be wrong about that. But Kansas State, I mean, they showed up last night. And I guess they did drink that juice that Calipari said they shouldn't drink the juice, Big C. Whatever juice they drank, it had them drop 61-58 to Kansas State. Them good old boys from Dorothy, Wizard of Oz country, Big C. They're moving on. What happened to Kentucky, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this was a strange game, especially from an official perspective.
Yeah.
When you look at the amount of fouls that were caused in this game, Charlton.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get to the Sweet 16, the officials at some point have to back away a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, in looking at the early game of Chicago and Loyola, that was in Nevada, that was a very physical contest.
Yeah.
I mean, the officials sat back and let them play. You know, these young men fight so hard to get to this point of the season that you're getting quick whistles throughout the game, disrupting the ebb and flow, and you're not allowing players to play. And so they get a little timid themselves out there.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting there and one team has 12 fouls, the other team has 13 fouls, that's an excessive amount in the first half of a tournament game.
Yeah.
And especially the Sweet 16. And I think that's what got Kentucky off its game. I'm not taking anything from Kansas State because they were a very physically polished team.
Yeah.
We talked about the junior and senior leadership that they had versus the freshmen that Kentucky generally run with.
Yeah.
And at some point that showed that those guys were willing to be physical because they knew this was their last chance, that they didn't have 3 years left on their scholarship if they wanted to stay in school.
Yeah.
And so let's just go out there and play physical basketball.
Yep.
And that worked for them last night.
Well, also what worked is we look at another bracket down in Los Angeles, Florida State with a 75-60 win over Gonzaga, and just seemed like they were just physically overwhelming Gonzaga, a team that was a runner-up last year for the national championship. We know they've had a great program up in the Great Northwest. But Florida State really, I think they shocked a lot of people, a number 9 seed. Not only did they beat a number 4 seed, Big C, they beat them by 15 points. You're talking about the physicality of Florida State.
Well, Charlton, we talked about the size of Florida State last night, the length that they had. When you have 5 players on the roster, 6'10" and above.
Yeah.
That's physically imposing against opponents defensively.
Yeah.
And so you can run so many big bodies in there to keep the middle of that lane clogged up. So, you know, you got 5, that's 25 fouls you have to use.
Yeah.
So you're not, from a coaching perspective, you're not worried about how physically imposing your defensive players can be, how aggressive they can be.
Right.
Because you have enough fouls to give.
Yeah.
And that's what Florida State did. Very athletic. They could run. We saw them getting up and down the floor. And then that's what caught up with Gonzaga in the end, is the athleticism of Florida State.
Yeah.
Gonzaga's a great program, but athleticism was the difference in the game last night.
Yeah, it's great to see those programs play. Michigan with a 21-point win over Texas A&M, number 3 Michigan over number 7 seed A&M. And Michigan, you're right, A&M was so happy based on the win they'd had going into that game. Michigan just kind of rolled, and it didn't even look like A&M should have even been a team that advanced past the first round. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I think that A&M felt that, you know, once Michigan had knocked down 12, I think, of their first 15 shots, you know, we might not be in this.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that right there would serve notice on anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
And half of those were three-point shots, Chuck.
Yeah.
So, you know, you built the lead in a hurry. And so you, as an opponent, you know, when you know you only have one game, panic kind of sets in.
Yeah.
And you can see that against A&M is that this wasn't going to be playing North Carolina.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, they were number 3 seed for a reason. They were a dominant team in their own conference.
Yeah.
They had a great seeding in the tournament. And when they started shooting the ball last night, it didn't seem like anybody could miss.
No, it sure didn't, Big C. Tonight's action, before we even touch on tonight's actions in the next few minutes, I want to just jump across the pond and look at what UConn's done. I think they've scored 211 points in their first 2 games, and I can't guarantee anything, it's just thinking, but if UConn played against the men, I'm sure they would at least get past the first round. I don't think that'd be too much of a stretch. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Coach Auriemma, Charlton, I mean, he's a wizard.
Yeah.
You know, we had the wizard of Westwood.
Yeah.
You know, with John Wooden.
Yep.
But now we got the wizard of Connecticut in Coach Auriemma.
Yeah.
You know, and you think about it, his ladies have scored 211 points in their first 2 games.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you look at a coach like this and you say, you know, is this the greatest team he ever had? No, it's not. He's had so many great teams. You think about when he won his first NCAA title back in 1995.
Yeah.
You can never eclipse that first title that you win. You can win others, but you can't eclipse that first one because it's so special.
Yeah.
And you made history when you've done that.
Yeah.
All you're doing is doing follow-ups after that. And you think about it, at one point he had a team that all 5 of his starters played on the Olympic team.
Yeah.
Now, that to me is the greatest team that you could put together.
Oh, yeah.
Not only do you win an NCAA title, but your 5 starters play on the Olympic team.
Yeah, that's
a dominant program. And when you look at what they're doing to the rest of the ladies in college basketball, it's almost unfair.
Yeah. I mean, he's done something as a coach. It's just amazing. Love how hard they play. They're like a little machine running around, and that's why they've been so successful over the years. Tonight, Friday's game, East Region, Villanova 32-4 versus West Virginia 26-10. The number 1 seed, Villanova. Do they get it done, or do they face kind of the same outcome that some of the first teams that were knocked off? We have Virginia number 1. They got knocked off. Arizona was a top seed, number 4, but they were a top seed. They got knocked off. Are we looking at Villanova doing what a lot of people think they should do against the West Virginia squad? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Villanova, Charlton, is the last number 1 left in the tournament.
Yeah.
Now, they won the tournament 3 years ago. So this is a tested team.
Yeah.
They understand what it takes to get to the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 and even the Final Four. They've been there the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So, they have a coach that understands momentum also.
Yeah.
And so when he has a team that's led by a senior point guard, that's a huge advantage for Villanova right there.
Yeah.
West Virginia, with Huggins, does a tremendous job defensively. But I think just the athleticism of Villanova is going to be just a little too much tonight for them.
Purdue 30-6, Texas Tech 26-9. Tradition goes with Purdue, them good old boys. Texas Tech, a lot of people, they're a good team out of the Big 12. Purdue, again, plays a physical brand of basketball up in the Midwest. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the Red Raiders have done a marvelous job this season, Charlton, staying in the top 10 throughout the regular season.
Yeah.
Purdue was also there. But they lost their center Haas a couple of games ago, Charlton, with a broken right elbow. He has truly not been cleared by the NCAA to play in the tournament because he can't do the normal things that he would do with that broken arm. So I don't even know why you jeopardize a young man in this situation for the finances of a university, as they would say.
Yep.
they're not doing this to enhance his career. He's a senior.
Yeah.
So he's done. He'll be drafted in the NBA next year. But you want him to play to benefit the university.
Yeah.
And so if he goes out there and re-injures that elbow even more than what he's done, whose career does it threaten? Not the university, because they've got somebody to fill his scholarship next year.
Yeah, that's true.
But, I like Purdue just off of having him around.
Yeah.
Haas is going to be a big emotional uplift for his teammates, showing that this guy wants to play even though he can't get cleared to play.
Yep.
So why should they go out there and give a lesser performance because he's not out on the court?
Very good point. Midwest region in Omaha, Kansas 29-7 versus number 5 Clemson 25-9. Kansas number 1 seed there. Your thought on Kansas? They have an offense where they average 12 points for each starter. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, this has been a perennial Elite 8 team, Charlton, when you think of what they've done. But the athleticism in Clemson right now, Charlton, is off the charts.
Yeah.
Ask the teams that they've knocked off, mainly Auburn.
Yep.
This is a team that can get up and down the floor. Kansas State, has won 14 consecutive Big 12 titles.
Yep.
And, you got 2 Big 12 teams in the tournament in Kansas and Texas Tech.
Yeah.
But I think if there's going to be an upset tonight, it will come at the hands of Clemson knocking off Kansas.
Very good point. Last game, Duke. Coach Krzyzewski. I love that name. Or is it Krzyzewski? My Google gets stuck on his name sometime. 28-7. A stable program in March Madness versus number 11 Syracuse. Boeheim and them good old boys from upstate New York. 23-13. I look at these 2 great coaches. This game will be coached by the best coaches over the last 20 years in college basketball. Your thoughts on who comes out on top, Big C?
Well, Charlton, these are great friends as head coach now. They've coached the Olympic team together. They've coached the U.S. national team together. But 2 tremendous defensive-minded coaches. I know a lot of people don't give Duke the credit for playing the defense that they play. But this is a team that, when you look from top to bottom, led by Grayson Allen, the senior point guard who has won a national championship at Duke.
Yep.
With the two young, promising freshmen that they have, that, that truly as much a team leader as Allen.
Yeah.
But when you look at Coach Boeheim and what he has done at Syracuse, he's won national championships, so he knows how to step out that glass slipper.
Yeah.
And so, but he's also the king, the godfather of his own defense in college basketball. He says that Krzyzewski has copied, what he's done and tweaked it a little bit, but he's trying to take his own game and play it against him.
Yeah. Yeah.
What Syracuse does defensively, though, in this zone is that they force you to shoot the three.
Yeah.
Now, Duke has Grayson Allen, who is not afraid of shooting the three-point shot. So this is the team that doesn't mind going outside, and that's what Syracuse wants to do.
Yeah.
They want to push you further and further off your spot and hopefully slow you down defensively.
Well, I tell you what, can't wait to find out what happens. This is truly a great time of year for basketball. For all the people in this great country, keep talking about what's going to make our country better, especially for the next generation. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bundini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you've got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young men rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Charlton, what I'm looking forward to in the sports universe is just like I did last night. I'm looking back. I'm looking at these young men that are going out there putting on these outstanding performances.
Oh, yeah.
And as you say, what are they going to get out of it?
Yep.
But even more so, Charlton, in the world of sports, and people will call it crossing over into politics. No. I'm looking at the hundreds of thousands of young high school students and student athletes that are going to be marching tomorrow in America, showing America that they have value, that they have thought, and they have perseverance and togetherness. And they're going to be our future in sports, politics, and in the business world, Charlton. And they're going to show America tomorrow that they're a force to be reckoned with over the next 2 years. Pay attention to them, not just as athletes that are going to be going to these great programs and being the superstars at these colleges, but as people who are going to make a difference in America.
Well, Big C, very well said. We encourage everyone, do your civic duty. Make sure you do whatever you can to make this country great. And speaking of making it great, every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide, you can follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports Show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.